security in our region is key to successful reforms, or vice versa, maybe successful reforms the key to security?
I think we would say that the key to a successful Ukraine is a country that has strong institutions with integrity, has a prosperous economy that gives opportunities for Ukrainians to have jobs with value at home, and the resiliency to oppose and resist Russian aggression, external aggression. And so it's not an either-or choice. Ukraine needs security, Ukraine needs prosperity, Ukraine needs the institutions that serve its citizens, and the U.S. is a dedicated partner to help a successful Ukraine.
Okay, United States located a huge trench to protect human rights in our country, and we read the statement about that yesterday on the website. And personally, I'm from Donbass, and I understand what does it mean, right, for minorities and for people who live in a crisis period and crisis zone. Could you tell us more about this track from the statement on US-Ukraine strategic partnership, I mean humanitarian track?
Sure. The U.S. is dedicated to help Ukrainians affected by conflict, and part of the announcement was the annual humanitarian assistance that we give primarily to international organizations that work with Ukrainian authorities and Ukrainian communities affected by conflict. And so that was an additional $45 million for this year. In addition, we also gave COVID-related assistance, and we've given 2.2 million vaccines to Ukraine, and also a total of COVID assistance of 55 million. In addition to the humanitarian assistance, much of our democracy and governance programming and our economic growth programming is focused on Ukraine's east. And that was an intentional decision several years ago because we want to strengthen Ukrainian institutions, strengthen the Ukrainian economy, and understand there are needs that are quite great in Ukraine's east, and that can also include residents of Donbass that have had to leave their homes because of conflict.
Okay, and what about Crimea? Not only Donbass and Crimea include?
Right. Well, I think the Crimea platform was a wonderful occasion, August 23rd, and Ukrainian authorities have put the Crimean questions back on the international diplomatic agenda. We have been working for 7 years with Ukrainian authorities to address the issues for the people of Crimea as well. So that includes some of our programming assistance. It also includes our policies that involve sanctioning Russian and other entities actively engaged in occupied Crimea. And it also involves helping Ukrainian individuals and institutions that are under pressure due to Russian occupation. And as I think President Zelensky mentioned in his comments at the White House, Ukrainian authorities presented us with lists of Ukrainian political prisoners in occupied Donetsk, in occupied Luhansk, in occupied Crimea, as well as Ukrainians, political prisoners in Russian jails, asking for our assistance in raising that with Russian authorities.
Okay, also we heard yesterday about the plan of transformation. What do you know about this Ukrainian plan of transformation?
Well, I think the Ukrainian plan for transformation is a question best posed to Ukrainian authorities. I think what we have seen in the past month is a large number of Ukrainian ministers who have come here, defense, agriculture, energy, and many others, to discuss their vision for how Ukraine can develop as a more modern economy and a successful country. And I think the U.S. is willing to be partners in many of those areas. If you look at our joint statement, there is much detail in security areas, defense, space, research, in development of the institutions that Ukraine needs to succeed, justice institutions, anti-corruption institutions, in economic and energy, both countering Russia's weaponization of energy, the future promise of green energy, as well as agriculture and in other areas. So whether it is working with our companies, there was a memorandum of understanding signed with Westinghouse on nuclear technology, whether it is with government institutions, there is much positive to be done between the U.S. and Ukraine.
Do you know maybe something also, of course it's a question for Ukrainian government and president, but maybe do you know something about the plan about peace that Zelensky mentioned yesterday during his briefing for media? Maybe you know something more about it.
I think Ukrainian officials are to be commended for standing up and defending their territorial integrity and sovereignty, and that is also the very principled position of the United States. Ukraine finds itself in a very challenging position, as do its neighbors in Moldova and its partners in Georgia, countries that have been affected by Russian aggression. There are mechanisms to try to help resolve the conflicts. We have the Minsk Trilateral Contact Group for Donbass, as well as the Normandy 4 process. Other conflicts have other mechanisms. The common denominator is Russians' unwillingness to live up to their obligations. The obligations that President Putin made in Minsk in February 2015 are similar to the obligations that President Putin made to President Sarkozy in Georgia in 2008. And they're similar to the promises that Boris Yeltsin made related to Transnistria back in 1999. And so I think the challenge is not the format. The challenge is Russia's willingness to allow conflicts to remain unresolved so they can try to influence the destiny of those countries.
Mm-hmm. And the last question about the position of special envoy for peace talking. Maybe also some information about new envoy for peace negotiations from U.S.
I don't anticipate a new special envoy from the U.S. What we do have is a new senior advisor for energy security, Amos Hochstein. And I think that is part of our commitment to Ukraine to counter Russia's weaponization of energy and to help Ukraine avoid the worst case scenarios. And so we will continue to work closely with Ukraine and with Germany to ensure that Russia is not able to weaponize energy.